Hi, this is Bird from Birds SVGs, and in this video I'm going to show you how I put together the folding photo frame triptych from the Home for Christmas SVG collection. So first of all, I'm going to put together the back panels. I need these right at the very end. These are the last pieces to put into place. So I'm just kind of prepping them now so they'll be ready for me later. So with each piece you get a piece of card and then you get a piece of pattern paper. This is the backing layer for the center frame. So you have an extra journaling piece here. So if you want to jot down where and when the photographs were taken, you can add that there. Or if you want to give this photo frame as a gift to somebody, to share your family photographs, your Christmas family photographs, instead of using it as a journaling spot, you could use it as somewhere to put your sentiment, to wish them a happy Christmas or something. So that's the idea behind that. So the outside two frame backings are plain. You get that journaling spot on the center frame. Now the center frame is actually bigger or larger, because the center frame holds a 5" by 7" photograph. The outside two frames hold 4" by 6" photographs. Okay, so now we've got all those backing pieces done. I'm going to put them to one side so they're ready for me later. And now we've got some detail pieces to add to our front layers of our frames. So you've got this very small trim that's just going to line the internal aperture. So it kind of adds a nice finish around your photograph. I chose to cut mine out of this glitter paper because the pattern paper that I'm using for this collection is from my Mind's Eye Sugar Plum collection. And it's actually got a little gold glitter dot on this particular pattern paper. So I thought it'd be great to highlight that and use some glitter for the detail areas for my photo frame. Now this is a little bit intricate. I'm using a precision tip, but if you don't have a precision tip for your glue, then just add a few dots here and there evenly over the whole area, and that really will be enough to hold it in place. This is a very fine and lightweight piece of card, so you don't need a lot of glue. So you've got a little bit of wiggle room time to make sure that it's all lined up around the edges of your frame. And then when you're happy with the placement, just tap it into place and then set it aside and move on to the outside two frames, because that's our middle frame. So that's our larger one, our 5 by 7. And we'll move on to our two 4 by 6s. And again, you've got this internal trim that goes around the outside of your photo. I do get a lot of questions about the type of glue that I use. The one I use is Dries Clear by Art Glitter, but there are lots of great glues out there, and a lot of them do come now with precision tips. So, you know, there are a lot on the market, so do have a look and see, because you might be able to find a tip for your favourite glue, or even a bottle that you could use to decant your favourite glue into. Okay, again, I'm just following around all the edges of this detail piece. If you are having trouble following all of those pieces, just like I say, add a few dots here and there. And then if you find if the areas are trying to lift up on you, so you didn't get a very good adhesion, just slide either a spatula or a piece of paper, a piece of card with a little bit of glue on it, just under the piece, and it'll just add some glue underneath, and it'll be enough to just tap it into place. Now moving on to my last frame. Now this is actually a folding photo frame. It's quite a large piece when it's assembled, but it folds virtually flat. So if you want to bring it out every Christmas, because obviously it is, you know, Christmas themed. It's got snowflakes on it. So if you chose to put Christmas photographs in it and you wanted to bring it out every year and then fold it away, you could put it away with your Christmas decorations and bring it out every year. Okay, so we're just adding our last piece. If you just line up the outside edge of your detailed layer, the internal pieces kind of sort themselves out. So if you just go for the outside edge there, and then like I say, you've got a little bit of wiggle room with wet glue, you know, make sure you've got it in place. And then tap it down once you're happy with it. So that's the front layers all complete now. So now we want to construct the channels that are going to be sandwiched in between the front and back. We're going to be constructing those channels now that your photographs will actually slide into. Now in your download you've got these spacers. I've cut mine out of some cream card because I have a lot of it. So I wouldn't say to cut these spacers out of your best card, because literally after you've assembled your photo frame, it's going to be discarded, your spacers. So cut them out of anything. And then I've just held them into place with some washi tape, because I know that I can remove that and it won't damage my card in any way. And then within your download as well, but this step is optional, you've got these L-shaped pieces that when they're glued together form your U-shaped channel that your photo will actually go into. Now the reason I say it's optional is because they are straight lines, so it's easy enough for you to use 3D foam tape or 3D foam pads if you'd prefer. So if you'd rather not cut these out of card, go ahead and use whatever you've got to hand. If you've got 3D foam tape or glue, you can put those around, but I would still say use the spacer so you know that your channel is in exactly the right space. Okay, so now you get enough of these L-shaped pieces to form 4 layers of card. So that gives you plenty enough depth to easily slide your photographs in and out. But it's not too big that your photo will wobble around in there or anything. So I've just got the last layer now to put down onto my center frame here. And then once I've got that into place, I can remove my spacer, because it's nice and easy to remove because it's just stuck down with a little bit of washi tape. And we're all ready then to move on to the next one. And there you have it. All nice and neat and ready for your photograph. And I'll move on to my next piece. So this has got a different size spacer, because this is your 4x6 photograph. So you want to, when you place your washi tape, be a little bit careful. You want to place your washi tape at the top, that can overlap, but you can't have the other 3 sides overlapping. So I'm just tucking it on the inside there. So I've got all the room I need to add my little L-shaped pieces. Now I just went ahead and glued the rest of these down to my outside 2 frames. And I'll just be back here at the end of that process. And that's the last piece on the last frame. So I can just untuck my spacer now and remove that. And you'll see that I've got all 3 frames all ready to go. Next step is the hinges. Now you want to cut your hinges out of the same material as the trim that you use on the front of your frame. So I've used the same glitter card. Now fold along the score lines and then you'll see that your tabs are different on each side. Now the wider tab goes on the outside 2 frames. So I'm just adding some glue there. And then when you put the score line along the edge of the frame and make sure that it does actually fold, you'll see that it butts up next to that U-shaped channel that your photograph goes into. So you can't get the placement wrong at all. So if the score line is running along the edge of your photo frame, then it will actually, the edge of the tab will butt up against your channel. So I'm sure when you're putting this into, assembling your photo frame, that, this will become very clear. The only thing you want to try and be a little bit mindful of is that your hinge is flush with the bottom of the frames. So I'm moving on to my last hinge. And I'm adding my glue to my narrowest tab, so that must mean that will go onto my middle frame. And the score line will auto-magically line up with the edge of my frame. I've got a little bit of glue oozing out there, so I'm just using a wooden stick to remove that. And then I'll add glue to my other tab, which is the wider tab. And that goes onto the outside frame and butts up against the photo channel on my outside frame. So the aim of the game here is for all of the 3 frames and the hinges to all be flush along the bottom, and then it will stand nice and steady when it's, stood up in your home. Now we're going to add our back pieces into place, and these are nice and easy to do because the only area you need to add glue to is that U-shaped channel where your photos slide in. So there's no need to add glue onto the frames at all, or the hinges, just literally to those U-shaped channels. Now when I pop that into place, you'll find this a lot easier than I am because I've got a camera over my head, so it's difficult to kind of lean over. But you want to make sure that although you're only adding glue to that center channel there, that when you pop the back onto place, that the outside edges are flush with the outside edges of the front flat frame. So you make sure the bottom is in place and it's lined up on the side, and then that's absolutely fine. Okay, we've just got one more back to put into place. So again, we're just going to add glue to that U-shaped channel where our photos are going to go. And trying to line this up with the outside edge of the frame, we'll just pop that into place. Now there is an extra snowflake in your download, and that's probably best to add that on last. So I'm just going to flip it over and I'll add that into place. And I'm using a dimensional glue dot, just a clear glue dot. And then I'll just pop that onto the top of my frame, and that will add a little bit of dimension. And you'll see in the photograph that I actually added some gems, and then I just slid some photographs. That's not me, unfortunately. It's a photograph I got off the internet. But yeah, it will hold one 5x7 photograph and two 4x6s.